I grounded my son after he painted his nails. Now he hasn't spoken to me for an entire year. I love my teenage son, but I would be lying if I said I wasn't disappointed in the type of man he has been growing up to be. My son started developing a sort of alternative style ever since he was in middle school. It started with him wearing all black, but ever since he entered high school, he's taken his weird fashion extremely far, and I'm just not a fan. My wife doesn't seem to mind, but she's a pretty passive woman and has never been a very strict parent like me. If I were to describe how my son dresses now, he wears big baggy black clothing and lots of chains. At one point, he was even dyeing colored strips into his hair. I remember being so upset the first day I saw this. It was just so embarrassing to see my child walking around like that. Now I don't have a problem with gay people or anything like that, but I never really wanted this type of thing to be a part of my own household. I've never confronted my son about his sexuality, and I really just don't want to know if he does happen to be gay. Our relationship is already sort of strained, and I feel like if I found out he wasn't straight, it would make it very hard for me to treat him the same. Like I said, I don't have a problem with gay people, I just don't want to be shoved in my face. On top of everything, ever since my son entered high school, he has made friends with mostly girls. At first, I was glad to see this, and I was happy that my son still might have a chance at growing up into a real man's man. But as time went on, I realized that he wasn't in a relationship with any of these girls. Instead, they were all just his close friends. He constantly has his friends over the house, and is part of a friend group with 3 other girls. To be fair, these girls have always been nothing but polite to me and my wife and are always respectful of our house. Still, it just rubs me the wrong way that my son doesn't seem to have many close guy friends, and I feel like it's not good for him to grow up that way. I tried my best to be non-judgmental towards my son even though to me, he looked like more of a freak of nature every day the more he kept leaning into his alternative fashion. I didn't understand it since all of his friends were normal girls. He was the only weirdo in his friend group who dressed like some sort of 90s mall rat. When I look at him, he honestly reminds me of the kind of kids I would pick on in high school. Anyway, about a year ago, I ran out of patience with him when he came home one day with his nails painted a shade of bright blue. My son had never done anything like this before, and I couldn't help but feel overwhelmingly disgusted. I told him that he had gone too far with his emo bullshit and that I couldn't continue letting him make a fool out of himself like this. I told him that, at one point, he needed to become a man, and painting his nails made him look like some sort of weak tea. My son and I had never really been close, we didn't even speak that often, so he looked very hurt as I was telling him all this. But I couldn't help it, he had needed a reality check for so long, and there was no avoiding this conversation. I told my son to go get nail polish remover and remove his nail polish right there in front of me. That's when he started to get angry and said that he didn't have to change himself just to appease my doom homophobic self. My son has never spoken to either of his parents this way, and I knew that there was no way I was letting him get away with it. I yelled at him for cursing at me like that, and I told him that he would remove his nail polish immediately or there would be serious consequences. He said that there was nothing worse I could do to him than continue being such a hateful father, and that's when I lost my poop. I told him that I would ground him for the entire year if he didn't remove his nail polish within the next 60 seconds. He looked at me and told me that I could try, but I would never be able to control him, and that he hated me. He ran up to his room after this, and I followed through on my threat. I took his phone away and replaced it with a flip phone, and he wasn't allowed to go out or have his friends over anymore. All he did after that for the rest of the year was call his friends in his room and completely ignore me. One night I overheard him crying to my wife about how much he hated his life since being grounded, but all she said was that I was his father and he needed to respect me. I was proud of my wife for sticking up to me behind closed doors, and I still felt like I had made the right decision. I won't lie and say that it hasn't been a difficult year. My son stopped talking to me the day I grounded him, and I honestly do miss him. He graduates next year, and I just hope before then, he'll realize that I was only ever trying to do what was best for him.